Hey guys, not long time no talk. I'm back. The podcast is back. I've said this before, but definitely was reminded of this. It's easier to do something a little bit consistently than it is to put it aside and gear up and pick it back up again. And so plugging in the microphone and hitting record. It's been a while, but I got off my phone. Summer is coming down to a close. I had a great summer and spring now. I can't remember the last time I did a podcast episode, but I'll jump right into it because you guys are busy. And this is about getting off to a good start to the year, getting ready for school to start if it hasn't started for you yet, staying connected with your kids. So this is 8 coaching questions to get off to a good start with school. It's a blog post that I did 8 years ago when the kids were still at home before a pandemic. But I still think that these are helpful questions to talk about with your family. John Maxwell, he teaches that we don't grow just from getting older and going through things. We grow. We don't just grow from our experiences. We grow from evaluating our experiences. And we can't control what we go through, but we can control what we take away from our experiences individually and as a family. And so we can process our experiences in a way that grows and teaches us by choosing what we underline and highlight, what we take out of hard experiences and positive experiences, what we focus on. They don't have to be painful, challenging experiences. We can also grow from mundane, everyday, positive things too. With our kids, we can take it for granted that they're doing well or that they are managing the stress and challenges of the new year. I wrote that 8 years ago. I don't assume that anymore. I don't assume kids are doing well. And so, these are questions to check in with them and stay connected and go below the surface and not assume that they are doing well. These days, I assume kids need support. I assume kids need direction and wisdom from their parents, like even more than 8 years ago. So back to the blog. I'll put the link in the comment or in the show notes too. So sometimes kids can be left to fend for themselves without being intentional as parents to check in with them. And so, yeah, your family may have a routine, a schedule, just the things that you do, and you've done it for years, and you might have a family that everyone, it's kind of divide and conquer. We do that a little bit, or sometimes you do everything together all the time. But sometimes you can get busy and focused on activities and results, and we may neglect asking how they're doing emotionally. One way to process and support your kids is to debrief with them and listen for what they're going through, what they're experiencing. Our kids learn more what they go through together with us than what we tell them. Experience is one of the most powerful ways our kids learn. So, what are your kids experiencing? This year, ask your kids questions and listen well to what is going on in their hearts and minds. Doing it early is a way of showing them that you care about them, that you're with them, and that they're not alone. Since writing that, I've been learning more about attachment theory, and absolutely knowing that you're available and you're responsive, and that you're engaged with them and connected helps them develop a stronger sense of attachment, secure attachment. And they, so many clients when that struggle with anxiety or depression or just struggle, period. Early on, in their family, they can kind of learn that mom or dad are just too busy or overwhelmed or struggling in their own ways, and basically that their parents aren't available or for in their corner, and that they just have to kind of figure life out for themselves. And maybe it's not everything, maybe, but there can be certain like struggles, things like relationships or sexuality or being bullied or academics, whatever it is. So knowing that they're not alone, that you're there for them, is important. When you do this early in their lives, later when they are questioning whether they want you around or whether they want you involved when they're struggling with whether they want to be transparent and disclose what's really going on with them, they will, because there will be a lot of trust, a foundation of lots of support and encouragement that you've built up. They'll know that they can always come to you and count on you. One of the joys, one of the best parts of parenting is when your kids trust you and are open with you. Yeah. So here's the 8 questions, and maybe more, for debriefing and coaching your kids. So number 1, what was that like? So when you observe them going through something with a sibling or someone on their sports team or school, ask them, what was that like? What was it like? You can ask this in the car or on the dinner table. And if you haven't been in a habit of asking this, they may be hesitant, or you might not get like a fully fleshed out answer. But what this teaches them is that their experience and their perspective matters. Number 2, how did you feel? This can help with number 1. Asking this helps our kids develop self-awareness, an awareness of what is going on inside them. Being able to understand what is going on inside and giving them a vocabulary, an emotional vocabulary, to understand and express themselves can be very helpful for boys and girls. So this is a part of what it means to emotion coach, or coach them with emotional intelligence. Not only will it help them identify their own emotions, but it will help them develop empathy and emotional and social intelligence. It will help them increase their other person perspective, their empathy, an awareness of how they impact their peers, how they impact other members of the family, and how what they do affects you. You can overdo that. You can be overly concerned with other people's feelings. You can be enmeshed and become a people pleaser. But taking the first step of being aware and communicating how you're feeling can also help with exploring and choosing healthy boundaries. It will teach them the difference between being empathetic and feeling guilty and responsible for other people's feelings. Pixar's Inside Out, if you haven't already watched it, and now Inside Out 2, can be helpful in going deeper with this. How do you feel? Number 3, what did you notice? This question sometimes is answered with physical observations, internal or external. This question can help you see what your child is focused on or concerned about. What did you notice? What were they observing or looking for? Number 4, what did you tell yourself in that situation? This introduces the concept that we have some control in the way we respond to different situations, how we react and respond emotionally or behaviorally, whether it's what we do or what we say. It is how we react or respond is greatly influenced by our self-talk, the lens or filter in which our experiences, we perceive our circumstances and experiences. We can also increase self-awareness with this question. Sometimes when I ask counseling clients this question, they respond, I don't know, I didn't tell myself anything. If your kids respond that way, that's fine. Just give them some space. and time to figure it out and answer. Sometimes they don't intentionally or willfully tell themselves anything. Sometimes automatic core beliefs or our emotions drive our behavior. Going back to question number 2, how did you feel? And working backward can help reveal what is driving that emotion and reveal what they are telling themselves, maybe subconsciously. This can help with teaching anger management and self-soothing. A little more about that. It's not only what we're telling ourselves or themselves, it's the way all of those things that we tell ourselves can become our identity. It can become the way that we see ourselves. So besides what do you tell yourself, sometimes I ask clients, like, how do you see yourself? What do you believe about yourself? How would you describe yourself? Right? Another question related to that, and especially with kids, maybe, new school, maybe you move and go in a new town, big transition, is asking, like, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be this year? Especially, I'm throwing more questions out. What did we learn last year? What do you want to be different this year? How do you want to grow? How do you want to improve? Yeah, who do you want to be this year? Brene Brown has described this idea. What did you tell yourself? What do you tell yourself? She's described this in her book Rising Strong, and in her Call to Courage Netflix special. She describes this as the story I tell myself. What was the story that you told yourself in that situation? What's the story that you're telling yourself right now? And this is not just for kids. Just recently had to do this with hard conversations with Julie. It is really helpful to realize the self-talk and the story that we tell ourselves. Sometimes it's inaccurate and it makes the situation more difficult, communication more difficult, resolving the conflict more difficult, because it's just more noise. And sometimes the story that we tell ourselves is helpful, right? That's the other thing I encourage folks when they identify, what am I telling myself? What's my self-talk? How am I interpreting this? Is your interpretation and what you're telling yourself, is it making the situation or the conversation better and helping you stay connected and stay focused? Or is what you're telling yourself and the way you're interpreting things, is it making things harder? Is it discouraging you? Is it making you angry? And is it getting you further from resolving and connecting and coming to an understanding or an agreement? So back to Brene. She notes that when we're in pain, our brain searches for meaning to try to cope with the pain. And our brain will make up a story to try to make sense of and deal with pain, even if it's wrong. Even if it's wrong, it feels better than not having a story. It feels better than it not making sense. So we try to rationalize and understand, like, why is something happening, something stressful, something that's frustrating, because we do that. Another way we do that is we're trying to search for meaning, but we're also trying to search for some measure of power and control back. When things that happen outside of our control, we'll try to minimize it, dismiss it, label other people, write people off as self-protection, as a way of defending ourselves. Okay, so what did you tell yourself? Sorry, that was a tangent, but comes up so much. Okay, question number 5. What does that say about you? This is again related to like how do you see yourself? What do you believe about yourself? This is something that I'm really passionate about. Helping dads, helping parents speak truth into their kids' lives. What does that say about you? How did your how your child answers is one of the keys with whether they struggle with their self-worth or self-confidence or with worry and anxiety. So on the flip side, with whether they become confident, compassionate, generous, or brave, what does that say about you? What are you when they are going through things? It's tough when our kids are struggling or going through pain, or anxiety, uncertainty. Our knee-jerk reaction is to jump in there and reassure them. For sure, I do this. My girls and son, my boy, he's a young man now, have they have their different insecurities and their different had their different struggles as they were growing and growing up, and it's just like listening and being there for your spouse. Instead of jumping in, allow your kids to express the depths to which they are struggling. Try to listen a little longer. See, if we allow them to open up even more, what they start with may actually not be the most important issue. It may just be today's symptom of it. And often with hard things, our kids will test the water. If they put something and we jump all over them and overreact and cut them off too quickly, you may not get to what you really need to get to. You'll see this with sighs and eye rolls and yeah, mom, yeah, dad, and they'll blow you off. So we have to learn how to handle it well. If we minimize their feelings, tell them how to feel and how to think or what they need to do too soon, we disempower them. We have to let our kids struggle. Allowing them to struggle allows them to put down their mask and take off their costumes. When we take the time and don't rush, we earn the right to suggest other things that are true, other things that they could tell themselves, and other options and solutions. We can point them to the truth of Scripture. We can hold space for them when they are discouraged and bear patiently with them as they wrestle with decisions or ambivalence or sadness. And when they feel that you've understood, when they've had a chance to vent without judgment and being shut down, you'll feel the shift. They'll start to talk about what they might do. So question number 6, what do you think you'll do next time? Or what do you think you'll do next? And so this is, you with empathy, you check in with emotions, connect. I often say this, you connect, you have to connect with them on a heart level before you correct them on an intellectual or, give advice. The word safety, some folks don't like that, but it's a helpful concept. When your kids feel emotionally safe, when they trust, the emotional safety is being able to trust, a part of that, and then you can talk about solutions. So number 6, what do you think you'll do next time if you're debriefing? You'll know you're asking this question too early if they yes but you. Asking this question, what do you think you'll do, instead of have you tried this or why don't you do this, will reveal whether they're done venting and if they're ready to talk about problem solving and what they'll do next time. Another aside about why don't you do this. That's an example of asking a question that you don't want to hear the answer to. If you say, why don't you do something to a child or a spouse or someone, they will give all the reasons why they are stuck in maintaining the status quo and not changing. So then you end up on opposite sides of, it becomes a debate. So you have advice and all these good ideas about what they should do. And then now you've asked the question so that they give voice to all the reasons why that's hard, why it won't work, and why they're not motivated to try your great advice, your great suggestion. So don't ask that question. Or don't leave it at that. That'll be another podcast, motivating unmotivated people or stuck people. Number 7, what went well? Okay, what went well? This question can help your child get unstuck and shift to problem-solving mode again. Again, don't get impatient or manipulative and ask this question too early. What went well? Most situations, if you don't want to spiritually bypass or do the toxic positivity thing of Brene, she says, silver lining everything. Oh, what went well? This terrible situation where you got bullied or, had a misunderstanding with a teacher don't be too Pollyannish about it. Most situations, if it's not just something awful, do have something to learn, something to take away, a positive or a strength, something that they did well. This helps our kids to get comfortable with ambivalence or mixed experiences. For example, if they go to a party or you have a Thanksgiving dinner, parts of the time or day may be great and fun, and there will be parts that didn't go great or didn't meet your expectations. This question can help your kids with negativity and criticism and allowing the negatives to erase the positives with experiences and with people. And it's hard, right, as a parent to see that where they go to school and they come back and they talk about the painful thing, the thing that was discouraging or frustrating, or the kid who was mean and said something mean, and you just wish that wasn't what they took away from the day, that it was awful because someone was mean to them or they made a mistake, right? Or they did something that they feel embarrassed about, right? So that one can be tricky, but it can be helpful to ask. And you as a parent it might require you to be less negative and critical, and not be pointing out the flaws and the imperfections and the disappointments and what people could do better. If you're critical of others, and we're in an election year, the negativity and criticism, ranting are in the atmosphere, or all around. Even if you don't direct it at your kids, if the tone of your home and conversations it is negative, they pick up on that. So that question might help you. What went well? Number 8, what would you like to try next? This question helps our kids not to worry about perfection. What would you like to try next? This introduces or reinforces the principle of a growth and learning mindset. We evaluate our experiences, highlight the positives, learn from the negatives, and think of solutions or adjustments, and courageously try again, trying an experiment, and trying to observe and improve what we've been through. This question helps them understand that we don't expect perfection from them, that we understand that they're growing, And we can say honestly that you did a great job. You're awesome. And there's and you're there to experiment with and adjust and learn as well. We want to give our kids truthful feedback. We don't want our kids to be like the poor people on American Idol who thought they were great singers when they were terrible. And those folks, somehow no one's been able to tell them the truth to that point. I guess their friends and family were well-meaning, and they probably wanted to support them unconditionally. But in the long run, it doesn't help our kids to not tell them the truth about where they are at. Their self-worth and how much we love them isn't based on them being perfect. Finally, when you ask these 8 questions, it takes time. To do it well, it takes focus. Cutting down on distractions, carving out the space and the time to ask them and listen is important. When you do this with your kids, they will learn that they can put themselves out there and take risks. It will also help your kids not to quit when things get hard. Our kids used to do musical theater. It always amazed me that they would do auditions in front of a panel of judges and their peers. They'd prepare a scene of dialogue or a song to present. And they learned that when they didn't get the part, that it was okay. And that they were going to be okay. And that was fine. And it was still fun because they would find a way to still participate or be a part, even if they didn't get the main part or the part they wanted. And that was a beautiful thing that has translated to other challenges that they faced, like applying for jobs or taking on leadership roles. And for my oldest, becoming parents of their own. So how do our kids get brave? They do that by having a sense that we are there for them, that we are going to walk through the risks with them, the unknown of the school year. We're going to listen. We're going to tell them the truth and be honest. We're going to hold them accountable and give them some structure and direction. We're going to call them out when they're getting off track. And that's something my kids have told me that they appreciate. It's hard because I've wanted my kids to like me, and it was really a struggle when they were younger. But we're learning. My kids are all over 20 now at the time of this recording, but we're still learning. Relationships changing as they're becoming adults. So how do they get brave? They know that we're going to cheer them on, that we're going to support them, that we're proud of them, that we believe in them. And especially, I wrote this 8 years ago, especially now that they're adults, we're also going to honor their unique perspectives and their choices. We help our kids by going through stuff with them, and we listen and support them better when we've worked through our own anxieties, fears, and insecurity. So maybe run these 8 questions through by yourself or with someone else as well. Guys, I hope these questions will help you coach and connect and support your kids in a deeper, more meaningful way this year. And thanks for listening to the podcast. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel or the Spotify. And look forward to the next episode.